Welcome back to Apex Sci-Fi. Today we explore a mission where stealth was impossible and firepower was secondary to a much more basic human trait, our absolute, uncompromising opacity. In a universe of energy beings and translucent light dwellers, being a solid block of carbon-based meat is the ultimate defensive strategy. The Ethel are perhaps the most beautiful species in the known galaxy. Evolved on a planet orbiting a pulsar, their bodies are composed of semi-solidified light and high-frequency vibrations. They are nearly transparent, looking like living stained glass. To an Ethel, the physical world is a secondary concern. They live in a world of spectrums, refractions, and harmonics. But being made of light has a downside: you are incredibly fragile. A high-intensity laser doesn't just burn an Ethel. It passes through them, disrupting their molecular cohesion and causing them to literally evaporate. The refraction palace on the planet Prism was built to honor this biology. It is a masterpiece of architecture. Thousands of rooms made entirely of diamond glass and perfect mirrors. For the Ethel, it is a paradise of shimmering beauty. For an assassin, it is a shooting gallery where every wall is a bounce point. The Solaris Collective had sent their elite photonic wraiths to eliminate the Ethel High Diplomat Luminous Val. The wraiths were masters of light manipulation. They used ghost lasers, beams that could be bounced off a dozen mirrors to hit a target from an impossible angle. In a palace of glass there was no cover. Everything was transparent. Everything was reflective. The Ethel's own guards were useless. Their crystalline shields just refracted the incoming fire, often accidentally hitting their own people. They needed a shield that didn't reflect. They needed a shield that stopped the light. They hired the mercenaries of Sol. Captain Elias Thorne stood in the center of the Grand Gallery, his heavy, matte black boots scuffing the pristine diamond floor. Beside him, the diplomat Val looked like a shivering ghost of blue light. You are so dark," Val whispered, his voice a melodic chime. "You absorb everything. You are a hole in the light. How can you survive in a place where there is no place to hide?" Thorne adjusted the straps on his ablative carbon armor. It was coated in Vanta Black S, a material designed to absorb 99.9% of all incoming light. He looked like a silhouette cut out of the universe. "That's the point, Luminous," Thorne grunted, checking his internal oxygen levels. "Your people spent 10,000 years trying to become light. My people spent 10,000 years trying to stay in the shade. You see a hall of mirrors. I see a target-rich environment where I'm the only thing the light can't pass through." The attack began with a silent flash. From a balcony 3 levels up and 4 rooms away, a photonic wraith fired a high-intensity ultraviolet beam. It hit a mirror, bounced to a chandelier, reflected off a floor tile, and accelerated toward Val's head. Thorne didn't even look. He moved with a heavy, practiced thud, stepping directly into the path of the beam. The laser hit Thorne's chest. On any other species, it would have reflected or pierced through. On Thorne it just stopped. The Vanta Black coating drank the energy, converting the light into a tiny, negligible pulse of heat. Thorne didn't even flinch. "Contact." Thorne barked into his comms. "Sarah, you got a lock?" Sarah Touch Miller was on the ceiling, or what passed for it. She was using magnetized boots to walk across the glass support beams. Unlike the aliens who were trying to track the light, she was tracking the heat spikes. "Got him, Cap," Sarah whispered. "Room 402, second reflection. He's trying to loop a beam through the central prism." The wraiths were confused. Their entire combat doctrine was based on the infinite reflection. They fired beams that were supposed to bounce until they hit. But the human was a kinetic sink. He was a dead zone in the room. Everywhere Thorne stood, he created a massive opaque shadow, a safe haven where the light could not reach. The assassins intensified their fire. Dozens of red and blue beams began to crisscross the gallery, turning the palace into a deadly web of light. Val was cowering, his translucent body flickering as the ambient energy levels rose to dangerous levels. Thorne didn't hide. He didn't take cover. He stood in the center of the room and opened his glass shield, a massive rectangular slab of ultra-dense carbon lead alloy. "Get behind me, Luminous," Thorne roared. Val scrambled into the shadow cast by Thorne's massive frame. For the first time in his life, the diplomat was in total darkness. It was a terrifying sensation for an Ethel, but it was the only place he was safe. The photonic wraiths were getting desperate. They realized they couldn't hit the diplomat as long as the solid one was in the way. They changed tactics. They turned their lasers to thermal overload, aiming directly at Thorne's feet, trying to melt the floor out from under him. The diamond glass began to crack and smoke. The heat was becoming intense. Cap, the floor's going. Mike Henderson's voice boomed over the comms. Mike was in the basement, literally holding up the structural pillars with his own strength. I can't keep the lattice stable if they keep cooking the joints. Hold it, Mike. Thorne yelled. Sarah, take the shot. Sarah didn't use a laser. She used a physical slug. A heavy, unrefined ball of lead. She fired. The bullet didn't care about the mirrors. It didn't care about the refractions. It shattered through 3 layers of unbreakable diamond glass and punched a hole straight through the photonic wraith's energy core. The assassin didn't just die. He lost his frequency and vanished into a puff of static. Thorne looked at the remaining beams. He realized the wraiths were repositioning for a saturation strike. They were going to fire everything at once to overwhelm his armor's absorption capacity. Val, hold on to my belt, Thorne commanded. What are you doing? We're going to take the shortcut. Thorne didn't try to find the door in the maze of mirrors. He raised his heavy lead-weighted combat boot and slammed it into the impenetrable diamond glass wall. Crack. The glass shattered. Not because of high-tech harmonics but because of Massachusetts. A human being weighing 200 pounds of dense bone and muscle, moving with 1,000 pounds of hydraulic force, is a physical nightmare for a species that builds with light and crystal. Thorne walked through the palace walls like they were made of wet paper. Every time an assassin tried to line up a shot, Thorne would simply put a physical pillar or his own body in the way. He wasn't playing the game of light, he was playing a game of obstacles. By the time they reached the extraction point, the refraction palace was a ruin of shattered glass and scorched mirrors. Thorne stepped out into the natural sunlight of the planet's surface, his armor smoking, his shield covered in the ghost dust of 3 vaporized assassins. The diplomat Val stepped out of Thorne's shadow, his blue light slowly returning to a steady glow. He looked at the human, this heavy, dark, solid creature, with a new sense of awe. You are an impossibility, Val said. You survived the infinite reflection by simply being too thick for it to matter. You are a shield of meat and carbon. Thorne cracked his neck, the sound of his bones popping echoing in the quiet air. Meat and carbon have their uses, luminous. You keep your light. I'll keep my shadow. It's harder to kill a shadow. The Solaris Collective withdrew their contract. They realized that their perfect light weapons were useless against a species that was essentially a biological brick wall. The Galactic Council's report on the Glass Shield mission became a mandatory text for all energy-based military units. Advisory: do not engage human mercenaries in environments where light and reflection are the primary tactical factors. Humans possess a high opacity index that allows them to function as total physical barriers. They do not refract, they do not dissipate, and they do not falter. They are the only species in the galaxy that can win a laser fight by simply standing still. Humanity had proven the ultimate mercenary HFY truth. You can have the most advanced light tech in the universe, but it doesn't mean a thing if you're trying to shoot through a human who simply refuses to move. We are the solid ones. We are the anchors. And in a galaxy of glass, we are the stone. This has been Apex Sci-Fi. Don't let the light get to you. If you enjoyed this victory of human density over light-based assassins, hit that like button. Comment below. If you had to be a bodyguard, what's the one thing you'd be most afraid of? Subscribe for the next contract. The Gravity Thieves. The shadow is long. The client is safe.